What were you doing before you joined up?
Before I joined up, I was a clerk.
You were a clerk?
Clerk for electrical contractor and builder.
That was in Hartsfield?
No, in Newcastle. And then I got called up in April 1940. I went down to Bovington in Dorset to do my basic training. From there I went down to Lulworth on a gunnery course. While I was down there we had the invasion scare and we went guarding the coast at Lulworth, Poole, Weymouth, different places. Used to go out at night on guard. Used to have a rifle and 5 rounds of ammunition. When the next man came to leave you, you had to give him your 5 rounds of ammunition. We hadn't got enough to go around. And we were guarding the coast with wooden guns, anti-aircraft guns that were wooden, and they got canvas tanks along the coast. And Jerry did try an invasion, and because the bodies were washed up on the shore. If he'd have followed it on, he'd have, well, they set fire to the water, as a matter of fact.
They set fire to the water?
Yeah. Anyway, when I did my training, when I finished my training, I went to the 5th Army, the 5th Tank Corps, which is the Royal Armoured Corps, in Thurwood, just outside Guildford. I was there for a month or two. While I was there, I decided to get married. And I got 3 days leave to get married. I went back.
Back up to Newcastle?
No, back to Guildford, just outside Guildford, Thurwood. I was there a few weeks when we got orders to go abroad. Well, in the meantime, I'd served my time as a gunner. I was trained as a gunner. But I worked my way into the cookhouse.
Why did you do that?
Well, it's much easier. There's plenty of food. I was well with the padre in the army. He was RC. I was RC. And this is when religion came in useful. The brigadier was RC. And the old army padre, he fixed all my leave up for me and everything to get married. And there's another lad from Longton, and he was going to be my best man. So we told the army. So we had 3 days leave as well as me. I went back and we sailed on November the 1st, 1940. And it was 6 weeks on the water. But I went aboard as part of the cooking staff, which is very profitable. I got plenty of rum. There was a rum issue the night we set sail. Everybody had the water bottle filled in the cookhouse. We had enough to last us a 6 weeks journey. We were very welcome in Durban. When we stepped ashore there was Cadillacs and God knows what waiting for you, and they were falling out whose house you should go to. We had a real good 3 days in Durban. It was just before Christmas. And we landed in Egypt, what to be, about the 28th or 29th of December. And they took us up to the desert, to a camp, a transit camp there. And we had New Year's Eve on the desert. This transit camp. It wasn't too bad. But I lost my cushy little job in the cookhouse. I got transferred into the brigade office. Knowing I was a clerk in Civvy Street, the admin brigade house was just quite all right. I used to get well looked after from the cookhouse.
You still had connections there?
Yeah, so I still got my connections. But one thing I got fed up with there was eggs. He had eggs for breakfast, dinner, tea and supper. You could have as many as 6 eggs for breakfast if you wanted them. You never saw a hen anywhere. You could still get your eggs. And the old Dobie Wally used to come round to do your washing. He'd give him your washing in the morning. He'd come back at it in the afternoon. Washed, iron and everything. And you go about 2 or 3 piastres, and the piastre about 2.5 halfpenny. We used to go down to Alexandria. You could go down there, you could have a chicken supper for 5 piastres, which was just over a shilling. You'd have a whole chicken. They're only not big pigeons actually, but they're very nice. And we eventually got word to move up to the desert into the fighting line. I was alright, I was brigade office. I went up to Mercer Mattoon, to Brook, and Jerry stepped in and started pushing us back. And I was on my way back, and one of the sergeants, Sergeant Shrimpton, I'd been with before, he came along one day in a jeep. He'd been down in Cairo buying stuff up for the officers' mess. He said, "Come on, Frank," he says, "grab your haversack and come with me." So we've been back to McKeely. Hand this stuff over to the sergeant's mess, and then we catch the boys up again. I said, "Righto." I just picked my haversack up. I've got no other equipment, no other revolver or anything else. But in the tank worked all revolvers, no rifles. We were going to Mercer Mattoon, to Fort McKeely, I should say. And as we got along the road, I saw abandoned tanks and trucks and whatnot. I got into the fort all right. I hadn't been in many minutes when they started shelling it. And Major Uniac came up to us and he says, "Oh, it's all right." He says, "It's only Jerry shelling us." He said, "Don't worry." He says, "By morning," he said, "we'll have air support and tank support." There's no need to worry. He says, "Harbour down for the night." So we got some stuff out of the truck and started cooking a meal. Not many hours from where we, on this little hole in the sand cooking, a shell dropped. Well, did no damage to us, we were all right. So Sergeant Shrimpton said, "We're getting out of this." He says, "It looks all right getting air support and tank support, but looks it might be Jerry." So about midnight we made our way to the edge of the perimeter, and an officer came up to him and he said, "Where are you going?" He said, "We're making a break for it." "Oh, don't worry," he said, "we're getting the support in the morning." He said, "I was with you in France." He said, "I know what you did in France." He said, "I'm off." He said, "No, you stay." So we stayed. We got tank support all right in the morning, but the big Jerry tanks they were. Of course we had to surrender. I always remember the great big Jerry tank came up and officer flew out. He said, "Hands up. For you the war is ended." Oh God, this is it. So they got us all together and they took us into the fort surroundings.
How many of you?
Oh, there was 200 or 300.
And you've been surrounded?
We were surrounded by the Jerry.
Yeah.
Anyhow, they handed us over to the Italians. The Italians came to keep guard on us and then Jerry's moved on. Well, when the English were pushing the Italians back, the Italians salted the water wells. Well, then when the Jerry stepped in with the Italians and started pushing the English back, the English went one better. They put diesel water in the oil wells, diesel oil in the wells. We were taken prisoner and we had to drink the bloody stuff. You get a pint of water for the day rationed out to you. And you get thick diesel oil floating on top.
And the salt underneath.
And the salt underneath, it was terrible. But you were glad of it. And there's more dysentery. And until at one time the lads were using 500 lira notes as toilet paper. They got stacks of Italian money, you know. It wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. And the guards, the ITI guards would see us using this one. Oh, Sacramento Poker de Madonna, you know. They got up the wall. Anyhow, eventually we got taken to Tripoli. And we were there quite a while working for the Jerry. As POWs working on food dumps.
You were still being guarded by Italians at this point?
No, we were handed back to the Jerry's then, which was much better.
Why?
Well, he was more of a soldier, the Jerry was. The ITI was neither one thing nor the other. We had our own canteen in this little camp. And they used to pay us so many litres per week for working. And you could buy stuff in the canteens with it. Cigarettes and fruit and soap and goodness knows what. But we couldn't get any Red Cross stuff. And we got a very good doctor in the camp. And his two prized possessions, he got them there in the desert with him, was a Fox's umbrella and a Burberry Mac. He used to be in the Merchant Navy, on the medical side of the Merchant Navy, and he bought these in Liverpool. And there was two, he carried them all around with him. It was a real good sort, and the camp commandant was, well, more pro-British than German. We take us out to a working unit, Fatma, the place was called, and you've got foodstuffs coming in, and goodness knows what. Coming up from some of the boys working in the docks. You might be loading stuff at the docks to go up to this dump at Fatma. Well, also there they'd got champagne, and one day we were loading this champagne. We wanted ever to get hold of some because the guards that we'd got on this particular camp were young Nazi youth. Oh, they were swines. But some of the guards had been 1914, 18 Germans, and they were just like your best friend. We used to pinch tins of food, tins of jam, ham, and then we could lay our hands on. We used to share it with them. They used to open all the tins for us. If they got caught pinching, one Jerry, he got caught taking a tin of jam, small tin of jam. He got 30 days bread and water. And we used to do pinch a lot of this stuff and divide it with them. But when we got these Austrian guards, young Austrians, Nazi, Hitler youth they were, working on this big dump. There's one shed, it's full of this champagne. Well, they're loading it up and taking it down to the brewery in Tripoli to put it in the fridges. So we got some Australians working with us. And they struck on the bright idea of open the case up on the stack, hand your water bottle up, and they'd fill it up with champagne and hand it back to you. We could have a drink from your water bottle any time you like, nobody took any notice. Until one of the old guards came up, mooching round, and one of the lads was just having a drink. He said, "What's that, a Basser?" The lad says, yeah. He put his hand out for the lad's water bottle. So no more to give it to. He tipped it up. Ah, that is good. He took his water bottle off, gave it to that, and sent up the stack and got it filled for him. And one day we were loading it up to go down to Tripoli. And they'd sent so many lads down with the first lorry load. And their job was to unload it at Tripoli and take it down to into the fridges, all the great big vast places. We were allowed to buy a case of beer at lunchtime. I used to club him, the odd ladies we got me buy a case of beer there, didn't it? Well, the lads didn't need this beer this dinner time. Every time they were going down with a case, they'd taken a bottle out and leaving it on the steps. Next one followed down, he'd have a drink out of it, the next one. It was then another one, an empty bottle would go back in the case. And they were as drunk as monkeys on champagne. And they got the guard drunk as well. And when we came back to camp at night, they had to literally lift us on the lorry. And when we got back to camp, we was singing their heads off, you know. And this camp commandant was real pro-British. He came out, he says, "Shh, don't wake your comrades," he says. "A soldier that can steal and not get caught is a good soldier. I go to bed. We got away with it. But we got some Sudanese in the camp, and the later that they were getting all the time, they were saving up. And when they were working on this food dump at Fatma, we were allowed to go out and buy stuff off the wogs. The Arabs, you know, dates and melons and whatnot. Well, these Sudanese, they could speak the lingo, you know, like the natives. And they made arrangements for a couple of camels. They went out one lunchtime, break time, handed the money over on the camels and they were off. That's how they escaped from Tripoli. Of course, straight away then, all money was stopped. We weren't paid in money at all. We got tokens that you could trade into the canteen. And this camp commandant, he got moved. And I thought, well, we missed a little luxury, you know. So they decided, well, sardines fetched a good price with the wogs. So for a tin of sardines, you could get a great big bunch of dates and a melon and goodness knows what. So that we went on the barter system then. And then one day, we got some guards on with us, and one we used to call Steve Donahue. Because he used to be in racing before the war, and he was just like Steve Donahue, a little short bloke. And we were unloading some tinted Danish ham, big tinted Danish ham. And if some of the case were damaged and the nail went into the tin, he'd tell us to throw it out. It was kaput, it was no good. So of course what the boys were doing, they purposely putting a nail hole in, and Hans, look at this. Oh, it's no good, kaput, away, away. Of course the lads were hiding that and smuggling it out at night when they were going home. And never got caught doing it.
How did they smuggle it out?
Oh, under their overcoats anyhow.
Right,
It was smuggled out all roads. And they got caught and the Gestapo came in. They said if they wouldn't own up who'd done it, they'd shoot every 13th one. Well, there's more shuffling in the sand than to count with the 13th. But they never shot anybody, you know. They put us on half rations for 3 days. Well, that was all right. The other boys just pinched up and said, you got fed all right. We were better off, actually. Another time...
It was just your unit that was put on
Yeah,
ration.
the ones that were working on this dump, on this particular shed. The others, they didn't affect the rest of the dump. There was umpteen sheds. I said, perhaps one would be full of ham, another one full of benzene,
These were all
champagne.
provisions that had been brought in?
Yeah, brought in from occupied countries,
Yeah.
more often than not.
To supply the troops.
Supply the German troops. But anyhow, one day we'd had a real good day. We got cigarettes, wine, chocolate, and in the old army greatcoat, down the front, there was a great big wide seam that they could nick open at the top. And for the full length of the coat then, where the buttons were, on the side of the buttons, you got a strip about 4 inches wide, running from top to bottom of the coat. Well, these tins of chocolate, they were their iron rations, similar to our iron rations, but they were very thin tins, and they were just 2 blocks of chocolate in. Well, I used to fill the coat up with those and get out all right. Well, this particular day, the guard gave us the wire that the Gestapo were coming to search us. We just lined up there ready for going home. Well, home, back to the camp. And then came the Gestapo. And we got a Sergeant Fletcher with us, who was in charge of the company. He was a Remy sergeant. He got his haversack full. The Gestapo came. There were the lads shuffling their feet in the sand. There was sticks of salami coming down, tins of chocolate, packets of cigarettes, covered it all over with sand. The Gestapo came round, searched everybody, didn't find anything. But the sergeant still got his haversack full. When the Gestapo came in, he went up to him, saluted them smartly, and walked round by the officer while the others were searching him with his haversack on his shoulder. He got away with it. When he got back to camp, needless to say, he divided amongst the lot of us. Another time we worked on an ammo dump. We're loading ammunition up. And we asked him where it was going. I said, "Oh, just down the road to another dump." We'd got Italian drivers. So one driver we knew from a previous, well, from the food dump actually. And he was always drunk, this driver was. He'd always got a bottle of Chianti in his cab. And we christened him Pissy Ass. And he was thrilled to bits what we called him then. Well, I was wearing a great big crucifix at the time. And of course, "Are you Catholic?" I says, "Yeah." Well, he used to bring me salami, cheese, and goodness knows what. The odd bottle of Chianti. Vino, you know. So he was driving on this particular day on this ammo dump. So I went up to him and said, "Prissy Ass, where are you taking this ammunition?" "Oh, down to Benghazi. So yeah, it's going down to Benghazi to be fired against the lads. So we all went on strike. Wouldn't load it. In came the Gestapo. They got enough bread on them to sink the Queen Mary. I've got a Scotch sergeant major in charge of the party then. And they lined us up, they're going to shoot us. So Jock says, "Don't worry," so they daren't shoot you. He said, "Look what you're lined up against." And we got a load of charger of French 75 shells that they brought over from France. He says, "They fire at you now, so the dump goes up." I said, "Don't worry." Anyhow, they told us we were sabotaging the German war machine and they could do this, that and the other, you know. Well, Jock could speak fluent German. And he went on to the Geneva Convention and goodness knows what. Anyhow, that finished up. We got another week on half rations. Well, the lads on the food dump saw that the lads that were on half rations were well fed. The funny part about it was, this camp was on the shore at Tripoli, and we used to build fires on the shore, build bricks up, make a fire, make coffee, cook bacon, anything we could get hold of. And the German guards used to walk past, you know, the tongues hanging out, they couldn't get it. This camp commandant said, again, he said, "A soldier that can steal and not get caught is a good soldier." He said, "But please don't do it in front of my soldiers." He was a real good sort. Anyhow, one morning they came in, rouse, up you get your kit, and they marched us down to the docks. I didn't know what was going on. And they just loaded us on a boat and pushed it over to Italy. We were battened down, according to Sicily, down to Italy. Well, from there we went to PG-59, wasn't it, the first camp?
Provincia Pavia.
Provincia Pavia.
Where was that?
Savigliano.
Savigliano.
Provincia Pavia.
Savigliano in Italy. It was in northern Italy actually. Well, no, we got moved from there to the plains of Lombardy, where they grew the rice and that. But when we were in this camp, it wasn't so bad because we started getting Red Cross parcels. You know, we were in a recognised camp then. It was very nice getting these Red Cross parcels. And but then the rabbits started working, they started tunnelling. So the escapes. Well, what they used to do, the lads that were working in the cookhouse there used to pinch the cooking oil, used to make lamps out of them. A tin can, a bit of string, the cooking oil, that made lamps for working underground, digging the tunnels. And somebody would lose a pillowcase. The pillowcase he used to put the soil in that they got out. It was dumped down, well, the latrines, they were only great big holes. It was dumped down there, it was spread all over the camp. They used to lift the floorboard up in other huts and spread it under there and level it out. And got rid of it.
How many of you were in this camp?
Oh, in the camp there'd be 1,000 in the camp.
All British?
Oh no, there's all sorts. British, Sudanese, Cypriots, and they were a lousy, swiney lot. They used to shop everybody, tell the outside everything that was going on. they gave one of the tunnels away. They got caught on it.
Well, when you went into the camp, how long was it before you knew about the tunnels? Presumably there were tunnels
Well, the tunnels were already going,
already going when you got there.
but you more or less got to be scrutinised before you knew anything about it.
Yeah.
And a chap named Dutchy Holland, they called him, he was a PO out of the Navy. He was the head one of it. Anyhow, when time came for them to push off, away they went. But one day the camp commandant came in. He used to have a check-up every day. Can't you see it were all there? The camp commandant came in one day and he used to have two lovely dogs with him. But one day when he went out, he'd only got one. The other one had been killed, skinned and cooked. The things were bad. Although we were getting the Red Cross parcels, the least thing you did wrong, they stopped your Red Cross parcels. And the food was swill. It was... You didn't get a handful of rice and with a few so-called vegetables, you know. It was very bad, the food was there. The first lot of parcel we got, the lads were sitting there on the edge of the bed. One lad in particular, his name Bullymore, I can see him now, with a tin of sausages and a tin of condensed milk, and dipping the sausages in condensed milk. They put pilchards and jam together, and God knows what. There was a load of dysentery after that. But I had a longing while I was in the prison camp for a pork pie. We had a run of Canadian parcels, I had a run of English parcels. I got an English parcel one day. And there was a tin in it, and you couldn't tell what it said on the tin. There was no labels on them, just ink printing on them, you know. I could just see St. Idle at the door, another tin of ruddy cheese, and open it up, there's a pork pie in it. Oh, and it tasted beautiful, it did. But they used to make some ingenious things in the camp for brewing up. At first it was a couple of bricks and an empty can on top and a few sticks underneath. And then they made little hearths. And then they used to make a little hearth with a fan to it. Well, this run a Canadian parcel was to get a big round tin and a tin of clean milk. And used to get a bit of wire, make a spindle. And they get an old tin lid or something, they cut a fan out of it. And they just cut it down and bend them. And they'd fix this fan into the spindle. And it worked like a blacksmith's hearth. And they used to have competitions for boiling water, who could boil them the quickest. And the quickest one was 3 minutes, I think, for a pint of water. That was the record. And one of the lads, it was an exhibition in Milan. I don't know what invention happened to it, but he made a clock. Just out of tins and bits of wire. And it worked. And I think he used to gain about half an hour a day.
It's pretty good.
But they did have an exhibition of these different things that were made.
What did the commandant say when his dog disappeared?
I didn't know, I thought he just walked off. It was never known where the dog went.
You never knew?
No, but we had a check parade one day, and there was 20 blokes missing. Oh, they had a great big flap. Count them all up again, we were out all day that day. So they suddenly decided then that they must have escaped. So then they go around tapping. And they found the tunnel. And then they brought 6 of them back to our camp. They caught some of them. They brought 6 back. Well, every day after that, they used to come round tapping the floorboards. And it was sounding hollow underneath. And checking on these tunnels. You used to take your beds outside. You'd perhaps be outside a couple of hours while they were checking up. Till they got to that stage, there was no more tunnel, so they let you stay in. And they get the floorboards up at one end of the hut, the floorboards at the other, and I tie down either end with big flash lamps. And shouting to one, oh, no, nothing here, everything okay. Well, that got to such a stage that when the guard came in, to give him a cigarette and a cup of coffee out of the parcel, and they'd go down and inspect it for him. Needless to say, another set of bloody tunnels started. And there was some more got to eat. Yeah, then they started moving us about, and I went to Lardirago. That was Provincia Pavia, near Milan. Went in a working party. And you could go out working on the farms. Well, it's in case you could go out, you got to go out. I'm working in the rice fields. Used to go out daylight till dusk. It wasn't too bad, we used to have some fun. The people who say, oh, it must be terrible in England, they're starving and everything. We were taking Red Cross parcel with us, with butter and cheese and soap and chocolate. Where's that come from? England. But England is starving. They've got that much food there, they can afford to send us this, you know. And for a bar of chocolate and a bar of soap, you could get anything. Literally anything. There's as many women as you wanted for a bar of soap. And there's one little girl there. We used to recognise them by the backside because you never saw the face because they were bending down when they were working in the rice fields. Oh, there's so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. You could tell them by the backside. If ever they wanted to go to the toilet or anything while they're working in the field, they should just nip out of the water onto the side of the bank, do what they wanted, back in the water again, plant away, and they're chanting away all the time. And when we first went, we used to see them, they used to wear an apron with a big pocket on the front. Now and again you see them dip down in the water, planting the rice, and then pull around, they go like that, and put something in the pocket. What the hell was that? It was frogs they were catching. And they used to break the back legs so they couldn't jump out again. They'd take those home at night, you see.
To eat?
They used to go in the stew.
Whole frog?
Whole frogs.
Not just the legs?
No, they used to... You'd see them outside the house as you were going back sometimes to the camp. You'd see them sitting outside the house, the ball between the legs and this apron on. They'd get hold of a frog and just nick it with scissors and give it a squeeze, and the frog would flirt out and just leave the skin in the hand. And they'd like little bits of raw rabbit jumping around in the basin. All that would go in the stew. And minestrone they call that. And there's frogs and everything in it. We were there quite a few months.
You were able to make contact with them?
Oh yeah, we were working with the civilians, see. Well, there was two farms. The Padrone that we worked for, the farm that we worked for, he was a typical fascist. Now the farmer on the next farm, the Padrone there, Lunghi, he got two sons, Francesco Lunghi and Domenico Lunghi. Well, Domenico was a doctor. And they used to have a chap who worked for them, Giovanni. And he said that Mussolini was no good. He got 10 years in Clink. Well, he came out while we were prisoners. So,
He'd already done his 10 years?
oh, he'd done his 10 years, yeah. But Lunghi used to see us all right. We were working on his farm. We were doing well. He fed us, and really looked after us. And we introduced to them rice and milk rice pudding. There's always rice and vegetables and oil and good. He never heard of rice pudding, you know. We introduced that to them, and he always used to do it for us. And then when Italy capitulated, the guards came into the camp and said, the war is finished, and threw the guns down. They buggered off home. Left us in the camp. Well, just short while after him came the Jerrys, collecting what prisoners they could and whipping them over to Germany. Well, as soon as the ITARs packed up and they told us they'd finished, we made tracks back to this farm, to Domenico Lunghi. See, so he said, well, Jerry's about, he's looking for prisoners. And he hid us. And we were in the rice fields and God knows what. And in the barns, and Jerry was looking for any odd prisoners he could find, whipped them off to Germany. But there was 6 of us, and Domenico Lunghi spread us out. He took a house. Well, first of all, there was 4 of us went in the church, in the belfry, And the priest used to keep us fed. He had a couple of buckets for toilets. And at night time he used to take us down below into his house. And he'd stand with his head up the chimney. And we'd have the radio and listen to the British news. He got his head up in the chimney in case anybody was walking around, he could hear them. Well, his friend in Milan, another priest in Milan, he got caught with British prisoners and just put him up against the wall and shot him. So of course this old padre got the wind up. And Dominica moved us from there, and he took 2 to his brothers. And there was 4 of us. He took to this Giovanni's that had been in Clink. They bought him a house, installed him there, and he took the 4 of us there. There was Jock Hatchell, myself, Jock Hamilton, and that's 1, 2, 3, and no, there's 5 of us, 6 of us in there. Myself, Jock Hamilton, and Jock, there was Stuart's godfather, 2 London lads, and Bill Armid, a lad from Scholar Green, were there for 4 months or more. I couldn't speak to one another, we had to whisper all the time. Well, there's people living next door. They thought Giovanni was there on his own. We were living upstairs. And Domenico used to see that we were provided with food and everything at Christmas. We had goose, Christmas cake, cigars, the lot. So then the English started landing in Italy and that. And Domenico said, well, I get to wait here until the lads come along. I said, no, we'll make a break for it. So he said, well, brace yourself. You just after Christmas. So we decided to make a break for it. Well, we all signed a paper saying that he'd looked after us for so long and how good he'd been to us. And could he get reimbursed for all that? So anyway, he said, where are you going to make for? I said, Switzerland. All right, he says, now go to such and such a village and ask for so and so. Right, we set off, we went out at night. We came to speak to one another. When we got out, we couldn't speak. But your voice had gone with whispering to one another for so long. Oh, we were a week before we could speak properly. But we got handed from village to village like that. You go to one village, ask for so and so. Oh yes, well you go to so and so. We used to sleep during the day, walk at night. And go to the next village. Go in the fields. When the workers come out in the fields, ask for so and so. And that was a system that got worked out. Well, one day we were out in the fields and the workers came out. We approached them about food and they told me, English prisoners of war. Oh yes, we'll bring you some food. There were just 4 of us then, 2 had left. Started off on their own, they weren't satisfied with Jock Hattell's direction, he was navigator. So they split up. And there was Bill Armid, Jock Hatchell, Jock Hamilton and myself. So they brought this food out to us. Oh, and they brought 6 or 8 litres of vino. Well, we drank it. We didn't move for 3 days. We drunk as monkeys. Another place we called at, the farmer said, yes, he said, I'll give you some food. He said, but whatever you do, don't come near the house during the day. You just keep in the fields, keep out of sight. He said, night time, he said, I'll fetch you. He said, all right. So Jock suggested, look, well, if it fetches, they've got a load of jellies waiting for us. Anyway, at night time, we went to, he came for us. He took us to his house, took us in. They got the table laid out there. It was fantastic. Beautiful white tablecloth. There was polenta on it, which was a maize, like a maizy meal that you used to make like a porridge of, and just let it set. It was like one solid mass of cold maize porridge. You used to cut it off in chunks and eat it. No flavour to it much. But got polenta, pasta asciutta, macaroni, cheese and God knows what, risotto, plenty of wine on the table, beautiful white home-baked bread. So we sat there. The old girl said, "Wait a minute, I'll fetch you something in." So she came with the old-fashioned brown casserole dish. She took the lid off. Oh, it smelled good. I said to Jock Hatchell, I said, "Hey, Jock," I said, "jugged hare." Oh, lovely. So she started dividing it up. I said, "What about yourselves?" No. It's for you." "Thank you very much." We had it with some rice and whatnot. We were eating it, we kept belching. The more you belch, the more you're enjoying it. They're very pleased. So when we finished, "Have you enjoyed that?" "Yeah." She says, "Do you know what it was?" I said, we didn't know what hare was, so we said, "Leopard, rabbit." No, she says, "Catto." It was a cat, and it defied anybody to tell the difference, you know. You don't let your cat out in Italy. They're fetching 200 litres a time. It was, and nobody can tell the difference. Let me see, you know what a cat's fed on, you know what a rabbit's fed on, do you? But they started us off on another trek. They were getting near to the foot of the mountains. So these particular ones, the arranged for us to meet the guide at midnight. And we met him in the churchyard, in the graveyard. And they gave us some salamis to eat on the way. It was only about an inch across and half an inch thick. And they were made out of donkey. But they're ever so nice. Real hardtack, you know. Real iron rations. Off we went up the mountains. And we didn't know where we were, and we just had to trust to these guides. We'd set off just after Christmas. We were going up one mountain path. It was only very narrow. We were holding on to anything, whatever you could hold between you. There's a piece of rag handkerchief or what. The next one was holding on to it. And you looked down, and all I could see was tiny flickering lights, you know. Great big drop on. You'd have never done it, you wouldn't have attempted it in daylight. And they'd take you to little crofter's cottage halfway up the mountains. You spend the night there. And these are the actual smugglers that used to do the smuggling in Peacetown. The contrabandistas, they called them.
They've been going all through the war.
Oh, they'd been going all through the war. They'd taken these Polish Jews over, Italian Jews. Anybody that wanted to get into Switzerland, they were smuggling them across. Well, when we made a break for it, you had to get rid of as much British stuff as you could. We got rid of our uniform, we got civvies. We got rid of our army boots.
You've been wearing a uniform?
Oh, we were up in uniform up until we made a break for it.
What have you done? What have you been wearing then?
British uniform.
But when you made the break,
Oh, we swapped it for
he supplied you.
civilian clothing. We got rid of that and he supplied us with civilian clothing. But you couldn't get boots so easy. Or shoes. I finished up with a pair of black patent dancing shoes, more or less they were. Because some of the lads were going civilian clothes, army boots. First thing Jerry looked at. And they were picked up. Well, these shoes got the worst for wear. I finished up going over the house and tied on with string. Tied the soles together, you know. And I literally went in on my hands and knees towards the end. But the last day before we went, we pulled up at a little crofter's cottage. He said, "Have a rest." He gave us a bed of straw. There were sheep next to us and God knows what. But we were nice and warm. And they got civilians there also. I don't know how much they paid to go over. But before we went, before he took us out, we had to sign a printed form. And it was all in English, being dropped by parachute. where you were captured, when you were captured, your name, number, rank, where you'd been, how you got in touch with these people. And they got £5 for every one. But there was one time when we were going over, we came up against the partisan troops. We stayed with them for a while. We mucked in with them. What they used to do at night was go down to some village where they knew where the jerry was in the hostery and the pubs in the hostery. And swing the doors open up with Sten guns and away. All the ammunition and guns and everything were dropped by parachute to them. And I went down to a village one night, the jerry was waiting for us. The high tide just buggered off and left us to it. So Jock, myself and the other Jock said, oh bugger this, we might as well get shot. Trying to get to Switzerland. There's these lot leaving you. Because he was, well, yalla two-time, two-faced the high tide. Things were going all right, he was all right, but come against a bit of trouble.
These were the smugglers?
No, these were the partisan troops that we met while we were with the smugglers.
The smugglers had left you at this point?
We left the smugglers.
Yeah.
Went in with the partisan troops, thought, well, perhaps get there quicker or meet the lads quicker.
You were still in the Alps?
Yeah. But we decided to contact the smugglers again, which was quite easy. The partisans soon put you back in touch with the smugglers, because they were passing them every day. But it's marvellous how they knew all the paths and everything during the night. And we were going up the mountain, it was beautiful. When you step over the other side, over the top kind of thing, start getting out the side in snow and slush and goodness knows what. We crossed Lake Como in muffled oars. You had to take your shoes off and everything. And you had to dump everything over the side. We hadn't got pay books or anything when we got into Switzerland. But when the smuggler took us the last bit, he said, right, this is Switzerland now for you. Lifted the wire up, you go through, he waves goodbye to you in Switzerland now. Went strolling down the mountainside, as happy as it could be kind of thing, we're there. The chappie shouts, halt. You look at him, he's got field grey uniform, silver buttons and a dirty big Alsatian dog. I said, Jack Christ, I said, back in bloody Germany. Well, they speak German. Well, High Deutsch, you know. But they were Swiss guards. There were some civilians with us that didn't notice those. As soon as you said you were a British soldier, away you went. First of all, we had a good carbolic bath and every bit of hair taken off. Deloused and given civilian clothing. And he gave your name, number, rank, where you were captured.
I was sitting there, his eyes popping out.
What was that about? What's that about the drain pipe thing?
We were walking along one day, during the day, and we saw a guard coming down. Well, a soldier. We didn't know whether he was German or what it was. Well, there's some drain pipes there. So we went through these drain pipes, came out the other end. We still bumped into him. So we decided what we'd do. There was 4 of us, so 4 of us can beat one of them, I'm sure. If he was a Jerry, he was going to get done and get thrown over the wall. Or if he was a fascist. But it happened, the poor old soul was a royalist. And he was all right. He told us, we asked him about, way to such and such a place. Oh, go along here and along there. Mind you, by this time we could speak fluent Italian. He could make himself understood, it was surprising. And we were all right. We got through. When we were in Switzerland, we were supposed to be interned. But you weren't, you could go out to work or just idle about in the hotel where you were billeted. I used to go out to work. Went on a drainage scheme. You had to do so many metres a day. So many metres long and so many metres down. When you'd done that, you could go back to the camp, to the hotel. But we used to go to a little farm to ask the old girl to make us cup of tea during the morning, you know, so she said, well, why don't you come and work on the farm? I said, we'll have to see them down the office. We got it all fixed up, and I went and lived on the farm. I used to just go to the hotel to collect my money at the weekend. I used to get extra pay for this working. But you only used to draw so much, and so much was paid into your credit. I bought you a watch from there, didn't I? Saving money up and bought this watch. But I got a bit of a cough. And the old girl was real concerned about this cough. And every night when I went to bed at night, I used to have a bowl of hot milk with honey in. And every morning when I got up, she used to give me a little tot of her homemade cherry brandy. She said, that'd do you good. And you used to have to go outside then and wash under the cold water pump. There's no water in the house. I used to go and muck the cows out and come back, and she'd have a kind of a porridge that was a rough broken wheat. I'd have that, and speck mit Spiegelei, bacon and fried egg. I'd have 2 eggs, 2 or 3 rashers of bacon every morning. And here they were at home worrying how was going on. Then you go out in the fields then, when you work till it went dark at night.
You'd never been as fit in your
But
life.
no, I was really fit. But they used to you'd take food out with you. And a great big stone bottle full of their own brewed cider, shaft. It was shaft and schnapps there. And that was the schnapps they used to make. It was nothing but pure wood alcohol. And the Swiss, they only used to have a little tot of it like a liqueur. And perhaps have it with coffee or cider. But of course the English lads, well, that was nothing. They used to have it in half litres. Got drunk as monkeys and paralysed. We got put in quarantine. They thought they got polio. But they were paralysed with drinking schnapps. Yeah.
That's how you went to work on the circus.
Well, that was before I went to work on the farm. When I was working on the circus
That was in Italy.
in Switzerland.
In Italy.
Yeah, kind circus. They wanted volunteers to work for a day on this circus. So Billy Muggins volunteered. It's all right though, we got paid for it, we got plenty of good food, free show at night. We had to open pull the big top down again at night. Early hours of the morning when we finished work, of course, we happened to put the big top up and fed some of the animals, you know. And there's some of the turns on there that have been with Bertram Mills and Chipperfield and people like that during peacetime. But they're a marvellous set of people to work with. You know, it didn't matter whether you're British or Japanese or anything, they're just one big happy family. I'm working on the farm after that. Because that was just odd jobs, the circus was.
How long were you in North Africa before you went to Italy?
I joined April 40. I was taken prisoner April the 8th, 1944. I joined April 40.
It was all April.
I left England November 40. I was taken prisoner 8th of April 41. I escaped into Switzerland April the 1st, 1944. And I came back into England November the 5th, 1944.
Were the people that you'd originally been captured with, are those the people that you escaped with in the end? I mean, or had you met up with different people by that?
Oh, we met up with different people.
You'd all been split up along
You've
the way?
been split up. Now I met up with
You
this.
were Bill Armitt and...
Oh, well, Bill, I met up with Bill. You see, Tug Wilson, that was in the prison camp with me in Italy, he wasn't in our unit.
No.
He was RASC, Royal Army Service Corps. And he was a lad that lived down the road. I met him in the prison camp in PG 59. And his people, they never got word from him at all. Yet he was writing.
That one that was in the...
And I wrote home to Gladys and told her lad I'd met Tug Wilson, Eric Wilson. I saw him the other day, by the way. He's got his daughter living in Stanley Road.
Oh.
I forget what number it is now. And I wrote and told them that I'd met Eric Wilson in the prison camp. He went and told his mother no, she was still to bits.
You will never forget that.
Because they weren't getting word to at all from him. And then there was another one. I met up with Harry Salter, Wainwright and Salter. They came from Burslem. Well, they used to have a prisoner of war association here. They used to have meetings, you know, and exchange letters and goodness knows what. And they'd heard from such and such a camp, and so was in that camp. And when Gladys got word that I was on the way home, she saw this Mrs. Salter.
Well, first of all, at one of the meetings, they said to me, "Well, you won't be long before you get your husband home." And I said, "Why?" I said, "Oh, well, they're getting towards the Swiss borders." As Mrs. Salter said to me, when he comes home, you must bring him up. Bring him up. And it was up at Smallthorne. So my mother said to me, "Well, when you go, I'm going with you." We don't say that it got home. Oh, well, come up on such and such a night. So we all three went up. As soon as he got in, out came our pint glasses. And the son, the one that was prisoner with him,
Used to work in Norris's.
Norris's in Hanley while they were in wine and spirits. Of course, they were never short of anything, these folks. But half a pint glass, half filled it full of whiskey and a drop of water in it. And I can remember noticing myself sitting on the old couch that we got there, drinking this whiskey. You got down that. Now, have some rum. Half filled that up. And they were talking, and they were miles away to me, you know. As soon as you got down that glass, whiskey.
Whiskey again.
Well, at the time, I'd got a double fox fur, and my mother got just a single fox. But anyway, we got on, coming home, we eventually got on the bus. We got from Burslem.
Smallton to Burslem went for.
Smallton to Burslem. You see, when we got into Burslem, we turned round and looked at my mother, and my mother had got her fur on upside down.
Fur to the neck and the neck.
I said, "Hey Mum, you've got your fur on upside down." "Well, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me?" I said, "I'm just telling you." So, of course, she turns out. We got off the bus in Newcastle, where Collier's, the tailors are now. We went over to catch the bus.
By Corrie's it is.
By Corrie's, yeah. That was my mother hanging round the bloody bus stop. And that? Because we got home here, because we were living here. And got my mother had a table under the window there. She came up. "Charlie? Charlie? You have to get your own supper. I'm drunk." And she just, well, I think my father nearly wet himself.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen your mother that happy before.
She was as drunk as a monkey.
I've never seen your mother before, so of course they said to us, "Well, you must come again, you must come up and that." So my mother said, she says, "When you go again, you're going on your own,
She said,
aren't
"I'm
you?"
not coming with
What about the time when you went to the fortune teller?
Oh my God.
The medium.
Went to the medium, Grum's, he showed me, even saw him through the crystal, on the crystal.
This is when Frank was.
Well, I was
When he
away.
was a prisoner.
And you went to find out about Frank specifically.
Well, I went.
Well, she advertised for me in the Sentinel.
Well,
Tom Drake did that this
Well,
one.
that's Sunday. I mean, just at that time, anyone that was missing, they'd have a
You see,
photograph.
at first you just report him missing. They don't know if they've been taken prisoner or they've been killed or what.
And of course, they used to go in used to photograph in the Sentinel, reported missing, you see.
If anybody knows anything,
Anyone could pass information on. Well, you see,
communicate.
this is how we come to find meet Salters and that's Mrs. Salter.
Mhm.
Because your photograph was in the Sentinel, missing, the same day as they were.
Hmm.
These two, you see,
You'd all been taken
and
prisoner.
they came from Smallthorne here to me. And
Salter was. Oh, Wainwright was in the tank corps.
yes, because Wainwright was on that
Yeah.
photograph that
Yeah.
you had.
Down at Bovington.
But we, wasn't Salter in as well? Oh, I've forgotten now.
I forgot.
I've forgotten, but
That was a different regiment.
as it happened, we'd got an old Sentinel, or an old newspaper. My father fetched it out. It might have been a few weeks old, where it said on such and such a day, so many troops, General Wavell, and so many troops had been captured, you see. So of course your dad said, oh well, there's nothing to worry about. Like, oh, he's bound to be in that lot.
Nothing happened to him.
Bailey, you see.
Lucky Bailey.
Oh.
So what happened with the fortune teller? What did the fortune teller say?
Oh, I went to one or two actually. Well, I don't say I went to one. My auntie had one. She came round around the corner, had one. And this was before he was reported missing. And this person said she had us in the room. Yeah, we all were quite 3, 4 of us, and we all sat in the sitting room. And then she had us going into the other
Living room.
separate, you see. I went in and sat down, and she, oh God, she said, "'Tis hot." And sweat rolled out of this woman. Oh, she says, whoever it is, she says, God, he's very hot. She says, but you no need worry. She says, he's sitting on a stone here having a damn good laugh. And this was only from cards that she was telling me this. She says, well, nothing, of course I never thought about being reported missing or anything. But she says, you've nothing to worry about, he'll come through. Nothing at all. But this other one that Sheila's on about, the same auntie now, she used to go into the union, her and my uncle, during the war. There was a person in there, and my auntie had a glass of Guinness. And this woman looked at my auntie's glass with all the froth round it. She picked it up, and she said to my auntie, do you know a Frank and a Gladys? My auntie Lily said yes. But I don't think she told her any more. This is when she said, well, come up and see me. And we went up to Hollingshead Avenue.
Yeah.
And my mother and dad were on holiday. See, my auntie was staying here with me. So on the Thursday afternoon we went up to this place. And going up the road, there was someone had got a line of washing out. And it was a bit breezy and the sun was shining. I said to my Auntie Lily, oh Auntie Lily, doesn't that washing look lovely, blowing out in the sun? She says, yes it does. And when we got to the top of Hollingshead Avenue, we knocked on the door, and I can't just think of the woman's name. She came, answered the door anyway, and she just looked at me. She says, good God, you've been busy. I said, why? She said, well, you've got a line of washing there with you. And as we're going over the step, she says, now mind how you come. She says, you've got your legs all bandaged up. I thought the woman was balmy. But she told me after, she said, I want you to look after your legs as you go through your life. But that was when she brought him through the crystal. She could get someone connected. We sort of got all crossed because she got someone overseas, someone connected with an office. Well, my auntie's son was in the Air Force, but he was over in Canada. But she even got the colour of the curtains, which at the time here were green. My Auntie Lily's were green. she could even get this person coming home up a step, over, she says, like concrete or tiles or something, up another step. Well, of course, we thought of Jim, prisoner of war, you know. We thought, oh no, that's Jim. Up my Auntie Lily's step, just along the little passage like these, and up another step and along another passage. Anyway, with me, she said she got someone, you see, behind wires. Well, of course I thought, well, Frank was prisoner of war. We got really mixed up with him and between the two, you see. And then she said, well, she said he was going to escape. And she even could show me over, she says, wherever he's escaping, he's going over water. She said, look, there's two of them in the boat. And they got their arms round one another as they were going over the water. First thing I asked you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When he escaped. Did you go over water? Yes,
No, I
he said we
don't
went
think so.
over Lake Como.
And there was two in the boat and one of the blokes rowing.
Yeah,
They split up in different boats.
They were just very small boats.
Yeah. Well, like a little rowing boat.
Yeah.
They split you up. If one got caught, the other might get away, and that was it.
and you know, Charles, I don't know whether it was with my Auntie Lily or myself. I think it would be my Auntie Lily that she got someone in uniform connected with an Alice. Of course, it got a bit spotty, but of course it was my Aunt Alice at Stockport, you see. But she got train lines, and this person in in uniform was going to make a train journey. Oh, we've just come in over this. Make a train journey connected with this Alice. You'd only just got home when we lost my grandfather,
Yeah.
and our Jack had come up from London. I've only just come in.
I was still in uniform, wasn't I?
Well, my grandmother, he died on 22nd of December.
I was still in uniform.
Yeah, well, you were a prisoner. You'd only just come home. Well, I'd never thought about it before. But that woman brought our Jacks home in London to my Auntie Lily. Even to the fireplace, the colour of the furniture and everything. And she said, you see now, our Jim did come home, didn't he? And him and my Uncle Jim went down to London to Jack. That is why we got all muddled up. But this person coming home, we're going down to London. We're going to this house. Even, you see, out the front of number 8, number
Westbourne
9,
Terrace.
number 8. It was all tiled. And she'd even got that, and up so many steps, and over the small porch again, and up steps, and along the passage, and up the steps to this big room. And Gwen had their big 3-piece covered green, and she'd even got that. And the fireplace was one of these like an old-fashioned type, and it was all pale blue tiles with the basket for the fire. And she got all that. She described it to a T. But my Auntie Lily didn't know it, you see, because she'd never been down. But I could tell them what it was. I said, that's our Jack's room to a T. Just got everything. But it all sort of tied up.
There were a lot of people during the war, I mean, going to fortune tellers and that to find
Oh,
out
yeah.
about people and so on.
Different ones all the time.
What were you doing on this stone laughing then, Frank?
Perhaps we can't.
The only thing I can put it down to is one day we were on the desert before we got captured, and we'd got some Italian breeder guns that we'd captured, and we used to use them for anti-aircraft work. and San Henry Valley in the morning. Well, we were getting our jerry planes coming over when we were harbored up, and they said never open up. If ever they come over, just taking a notice, let them go over, and then they won't know you're there. Good camouflage and goodness knows. And there's some bright kid of an officer saw these planes coming over one day, sounds the alarm, open up, started firing away. The jerry plane just turned round and came back to strafe the camp. Well, we've got two of these breeder guns. There was one in the first pit and we were in the second pit. Well, they came for the first pit and we saw the bullets hitting him, but his armour plate was just flying off. We'd only got tracer ammunition. He came for our gun. We got two trays off and the bloody gun jammed. So of course the corporal says, right lad, duck. So we all went into the far corner of the near corner actually it was to the plane, near corner of the pit. He came past, there's bullets flying all the way over us. And none of us got hit. Well, he went over, and this Colonel Taffy Shrimpton sergeant that I got captured with, he was in the light tank. And he opened up, and he got him. He fetched him down. But when I got out, we'd just been having a meal. This silly bug of an officer opened up. And I put my mess tin down the side of the gun pit, and ducked down ready to get behind the guns. And when I got out there was 3 bloody bullets through my mess tin. I said, bloody shower him, look. He bugging me bloody mess tin up. But none of us got it. We just sat there and laughed then. So as I put the stone down to him, he'd be sitting on the side of the gun pit.
Well,
There was already messed him with 3 bloody bullet holes through.
Did all your letters get through?
Well, when I was in hiding in Italy.
Yeah.
Mind you did get some through from there, didn't you?
Gone through, yeah.
You see, we used to write a letter, and Dominica Lungi would take them off us, hand them to these smugglers, and they'd smuggle them through Switzerland, and Red Cross would send them home from Switzerland. We did get 1 or 2 through like that,
I think
didn't
we
we?
got 2 through. But I got them also after you got over into Switzerland.
We got regular mail then from
What
Switzerland.
about that photograph you had painted?
That was
Oh, the photograph of your mother.
Mm-hmm.
I had a photograph of Gladys with me on the boat. And the chappie on the boat, he used to pass the time. I used to colour these photographs for you, So, he says, you can colour this one for me. Okay, he says, what colour's her hair? I said, oh, it's auburn. Right, he said. And this dress, I said, oh, it was black material, wasn't it?
It was a black material,
Black material,
with
was it?
a floral border all the way
Border.
down before
But
I
she'd
made
work-
the thing up.
She'd worked it as the border came down the front.
The border was all, I've got
Wasn't
the
it?
twisted bodies
Yeah.
and I put it in, and then I put the in go days in the skirt that were in.
So
fashion.
I just gave him the photograph and they coloured it for me. And when I came home, I showed Gladys this photograph. And if the chap had have had the material in front of him,
He couldn't.
he couldn't have copied the colours better. It was fantastic, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
You still got it, so.
It was. Oh, still.
I was supposed it's in the view.
It's still somewhere there with the little poems and goodness knows what on the
Billy
back.
too on the back.
About a band of young soldiers who once camping out, talking of sweethearts they knew.
Did you have special time allocated to do specific tasks when you were in the camp in
In the prison
Italy?
camp.
Yes.
In Italy,
Yes. How did you spend your time?
oh, I had nothing to do all day. And you weren't working when we were in PG 59, it was just a rest camp and there was no work. Anything to pass the time. I used to play bridge. I was quite intellectual then, bridge playing. Making things out of tin cans, catching lice. I used to have competition who could catch the most.
What did you when you were within the 3 months in the room where you
Yeah.
had the whisper? How did you spend the time then?
Reading, playing cards, anything to pass the time.
And you had to be careful looking out of windows and things. Or could you
Oh.
move about the house
We,
freely?
we could move about, because we got no shoes on or anything. Only in stocking feet.
But you had to stay upstairs and
Had
so.
to stay upstairs, and we had the usual buckets for toilets and that, and Giovanni used to have to empty them. Sunday mornings we used to watch the girls going to church, peeping through the curtains, you know. Nobody knew we were there. Not till the night we went even. You just see the old dears coming to the little stream by the side of the house doing the washing and everything. Speak to Giovanni and ask him how he was going on. They used to bring him food in because he was all on his own. That was the time. First time I ever saw anybody riding a bike with an umbrella up. In Italy.
Oh, wasn't him tried that, didn't he?
Yeah, the high tide going along the road with his umbrella of one hand and the bar. Because you used to get a lot of the city folks used to come into the... We were in the country.
Mhm.
And they used to come into this country like they used to do here. After black market stuff.
You said at one point that you split up. How did you sort of get on with the other people who had...
Well, we split up from. Do you mean?
No, but before that, I mean, while you were for 3 months in this room,
Yeah.
how did you... Did everything go smoothly? I mean, you must have been...
Oh no, God blimey, sometimes.
Some kind of strain there.
Sometimes. If we got plenty well of cigarettes, it was the same in the prison camp. If you got a smoke and anything, you could turn into a chap and say, oh, you bastard, you know, and think nothing of it. But another time, if you got no cigarettes and you're all niggly and you're cold, and that ought to be murder. With fights and God knows what. Oh yes, I mean, say, we've had it in when we were in this house. You'd perhaps just say the wrong thing one day. You perhaps wouldn't speak for a week or a fortnight. You know, the two would be friends and two wouldn't kind of thing. You get into some very awkward situations sometimes.
Yeah.
And threaten what you're going to do when you get outside, when you're getting back into your own lines, and goodness knows what. But you eventually finish up the best of battles, you know. Well, it's a rotten atmosphere sometimes. Don't really get the same across the theatre, you know, you could knife them. Another time, you'd knife somebody else who was doing anything to him. It teaches you comradeship and friendliness kind of thing, you know. Whether it will give you that mocking in spirit, say. You know, it's all for one and one for all. Another time you're done to get rid of him. Yeah, it's laughable parts.
What do you remember? Sorry.
I'm still here.
What do you remember most of all about that?
I don't
About the whole
know.
business? How does it sort of strike you now? And how did it strike you then? What did you think about it then?
Obviously, when first we got captured, Jerry said, for you the war is ended. And we thought, well, that we were just going to get lined up and shot or something. You know, we got dreamt of being taken prisoner kind of thing.
Yeah.
You thought, well, that's it now, they're going to bump us off. Mind you, we got captured when they surrounded the fort, and these tanks came in then. If it had been 2 hours later, we'd have got away. For a terrific sandstorm came up. When them bloody sandstorms are on, mate, you can't see anything. We'd have got away all right. They wouldn't have been able to attack us. They would have got away all right. But they got us captured and they got us harboured up and surrounded. It was hopeless then to try and get away because they'd taken everything off you. All your spare food and as all this happened, all the Jenny's collecting that. Everybody made a dash for stores and all loaded the haversacks and water bottles filled and everything. But when Jerry took, they just took all the food out, all the spare food he'd got. That went. He left you with your water.
Yeah.
That didn't last long.
Did you know how things were happening outside? or throughout the period that you were prisoner, or were you subject to?
No, well, it's like when we were in the church. We got a true version of what was happening outside from the British radio.
Yeah, but up until that point, you didn't know, or
Oh no, in the prison camps, you used to get rumours. Terrible amount of rumours.
and I suppose you were subject to propaganda from the Italians.
All from the
and Germans.
Italians, yeah, and the Germans.
Yes.
But when we were in Tripoli working, we were going along one day marching after work, and there's some monks came past, and they were singing God Save the Queen of Britannia. And there was a Polish chap, I think it was. What was his name? They called it Somebody's Army. And he was working in Tripoli against the Germans. He got his own little band there. And they were working against the Jerrys. And we were in one side Tripoli docks one day when the ship got blew up the other side. And how this chap and his lads. That there. He was on the television or the radio. Colonel. They call it Somebody's Army. Began with a P. Can't remember the name now. But he got all these wogs working. He got his own little army in Tripoli. And all they did was sabotage.
Why don't you say one of them spoke to you?
Yeah, they spoke to us one day.
What did it?
God save the Queen, God save the King, Rule Britannia.
Told you something was going to happen.
And they told us one day that one of the ships would be going up, and it did. Oh, there's lots of sabotage went on in the Tripoli docks. It's the same as long range desert patrol. But some of the wogs that used to meet out on the desert, you could ask them where Jerry was and he'd tell you. And vice versa. He'd tell Jerry where we were.
Yeah.
We'd be out in the blue, and a wog had come up with his old donkey or camel or something, you know. And say, shy, tea. Yeah, we got some tea. What have you got to offer us? Eggs, milk, goat's milk. What the lads started doing was, when they brewed the tea, they'd rather throw the tea leaves up again and give it to them. Oh, and he'd come back and he wouldn't have curse you in Arabic. Major Uniac, he was some relation to King Farouk through marriage. And he used to give us Arabic lessons going over on the boat. And he taught us all the swear words, all the filthy sayings. I remember the English one of them, but I can't for the life of me think the Arabic. I've often tried to remember it. He told us if anybody ever said anything to us, just turn around and tell them this. And it mentioned nothing but a wet fart in your father's beard.
But yes, you won't tell me.
And I forgot what it was. But that was the meaning of it. And as soon as you step ashore at Port Said, the woggers come up, eggsy bread. And they got umpteen eggs, but you never saw bloody chicken anywhere. There's always plenty in the restaurants and everything. Just the same when Stuart went.
Yeah, Stuart said the same thing,
Yeah,
didn't
as
he?
soon as you get in Port Said, and they come, eggsy bread. You want dirty picture, Johnny? Dirty picture. You want to meet my sister, Johnny? Man, we had two good pals in the brothels in Alexandria. Lucky George and his sister. Curly Rooks, he was a corporal cook. We used to go down to Alexandria, and he'd always promise to take one of these girls back to England with him. Lucky George and his sister. And they're only 18. They were stopping until they're 21 in the brothels. And they reckon they got enough to buy themselves a husband and keep him. And Curly was really well him at this one. He was going to take her back to England. We used to go down there and say, come on, let's go and see Lucky. What are you doing down here tonight? Oh, I just come for a night out. Well, here's some money. Go and have a good time, then come back. And go back, and she'd have a taxi for us to take us back to camp. And 25 cigarettes apiece.
Well, did they run the brothel?
No, they're only working there.
Oh.
They're only working there.
Where did they come from then? How long have they been
They were half Greek and half Egyptian. He used to get a lot of Greek girls there. But we'd go out and have a real good time in Alex. Their expense. Somebody else's pleasure was paying for our pleasure. It was laughable in the prison camp once when Bully, his name Bully,
Have you put your in now?
Bonanotti,
there?
had a letter from his wife, and he was thrilled to bits. Oh, he said, wife's had a baby. He'd been in prison, God knows how long.
2 years.
Been to prisoner 2 years, his wife had a baby by a Canadian sergeant. It was funny.
So that by proxy.
He was the one that's dipping his tin sausage in the condensed milk. I've seen them. You get a Red Cross parcel sometime, you might get a tin of Marmite, a tin of mustard. And I've seen them, particularly the Cypriots. They'd start off with this tin of mustard going round the camp. They'd swap that with a tin of fish paste for somebody. Then they'd go and swap that for something else. They'd finish up with a steak and kidney pudding or a fruit pudding or something, or a tin of butter, It was fantastic, the barton that used to go on inside the prison camp. And then we got some horses there, and the prison camp used to run the 2-up schools. And they used to bet in cigarettes on the side. Some would have piles of cigarettes there, and some other poor devils would have none. They had always a gamble, and they gamble on anything. When we had to run the Canadian parcels, the lads were feeling really fit after this parcel with a pound of butter and a pound tin of powdered milk and that, So they started playing rugby. Half of them finished up in hospital with cracked ribs. Another time they had a spell where the food was very bad and we were getting no parcels. And lads were going into hospital to get circumcised so they could get some food. I can mention a dozen that went. And then the old party that we used to have, we had a concert party in the prison camp. We had an old Italian party there. It was a real good old sort. And used to have a band practice in the afternoon. Create a big noise while the lads were tunnelling, Just taking place underneath the hut where they used to practice.
Even Italian?
For the concert party. It was an Italian party. And he knew what was going on. He used to have band practice from these concert party practices while they were digging away.
You were still prominently wearing your crucifix at the
Oh yeah, that crucifix played a big part. It did.
Is that the one that I've got in
When I got upstairs. Yeah. Then when I went into Switzerland, the funny part about the farm that I went to work on, they were Catholics. They got a son a priest. I couldn't do wrong there. Marvellous, they were to me there. Rose, the daughter, she used to play the accordion. And if I came in from the field at night and said, Rosa, give us a tune on the accordion. Oh, I'm tired, friend. I said, Rosa, you play the accordion. She got to play. She mustn't disappoint me. And they got 2 sons, or 3 sons, one was a priest, and 2 worked on the farm, and one of them he was a polio victim. He was more or less paralysed down one side, He used to drag his left leg. Carl and I forget the other name. I've got a photograph taken with them. That's one place I'd like to take Gladys back to, Switzerland. God's own country.
Well, didn't you write to them once?
Yeah,
You never had an answer back.
no. Perhaps they couldn't understand the German.
How long did you spend going across the Alps? How long did that last?
Just after Christmas till April, about 3 months.
From the
4
time
months.
that you left the room.
Yeah, about 4 months.
Okay.
About January. Towards the end of January. And we landed in the 1st of April. 3 months.
It's quite a long time. You must
It's
have-
quite a long way from Milan and all. Saying you only got certain times to walk.
Yeah.
You see, then perhaps sometimes we wouldn't bother some nights. We'd just stay put.
You would travel by foot all the way. Or you
Oh,
never,
oh, yes,
Never
it's-
got sort of lifts in
Couldn't get a lift at all, no.
a cart or something.
It's all footwork.
Mm.
No, you couldn't hitchhike or get a lift on the train or anything. See, because you got Jerry's at all the stations. Jerry was controlling all the vehicles.
So you had to walk presumably around all the towns you
Hmm.
came to.
Well, if you went and we'd walk during the night, go out in the fields during the day. Well, more often than not in these fields, you'd get a little thatch place that the hens used to go into. And I myself woke up and there'd been eggs on top of me. They've laid on top of you. And you were warm all right because there's straw effort in. Well, a bit of hen droppings and that, we didn't mind that. You got used to that. Used to wash about once a week.
We told him about the meal you had got ready.
Yeah, and the cat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I must have fallen
You managed
asleep.
to keep that cat down. All of you.
Well, it nearly came up when she told us what it was. I will admit. It was just the same as when Ma said she'd do them a meal across the old house one night. She said she'd do them a stuffed heart. Some of the girls, we couldn't touch it. She did it. And cut it up into sandwiches and that, they ate them. Oh, beautiful. And she told us a stuffed heart and leave that back. Yeah, the thought of it. Mm. But we've caught the snails out of the side of the paddy fields. Had those cooked, they're lovely.
You had the frogs as well.
Oh, we had frogs, snails, donkey salami.
Did you cook your own stuff as you went along?
No. No, it was all brought to us. They were marvellous, actually. The organisation through the Royalist was fantastic. I mean, I said that when you were in the fields during the day, they'd bring you bread, cheese, salami, vino. And then at night you'd go and you'd have a cooked meal of some sort. Sometimes, the pasta shooter or risotto. Or perhaps a bit of meat of some sort, stewed in with rice, Or perhaps a lump of this polenta.
What was the main sort of problems on that part of the trip?
And there was no problems at all, actually.
I mean, the main sort of discomforts and worries.
Well, you were sleeping out all the time, you're sleeping rough. And you got no change of
It
clothing.
was winter, wasn't it, too?
Well, it was January,
Pretty cold.
February, March, it was cold.
Yeah.
Mind you, you got... we'd done pretty well in trading the clothing. But it's funny, you never caught cold. You get ringing soaking wet and your clothes are dry on you. But you never got cold. You never caught cold. And all I put it down to was the amount of garlic you're getting down to. You never saw an Italian with a cold. Out there.
Mm.
And that's the only thing I put it down to was the garlic. Because you look at your liquid fruit, you smell liquid fruit, cough message. I'm sure the base is only garlic. Smells exactly like garlic. Garlic and olive oil. I think that's what kept the cold off the eye tires.
You didn't collapse with cold when you got back.
When I came back, I used to sit down for a meal. I'd have 4 or 5 mouthfuls and I'd have to get up, wouldn't I? Your stomach had shrunk to that extent, you know. And burp like nobody's business, wouldn't it? It's affected the muscle of the stomach now.
Yeah. You lost a lot of weight.
I wasn't too bad when I came home, was
It
I?
was like blown out.
I got macaroni puff, as we called it. Bloated, you know, with all the starchy foods he'd been having.
There's a photograph somewhere that they'd taken. It was just like, was it they blown him up with a...
My cheeks were red like that. Really, until I looked quite well. But as I say, if you come to sit and have a meal, you'd have 4 or
He was
5
only very, very thin. Talk about...
racehorse breed.
It didn't matter how he fed, he couldn't get fat.
Before I went in the army,
Yeah.
and then after being at home a while, I started to work and whatnot. I got rid of it all, yeah.
Again, didn't he?
Well, before I came in the shop, I was only 9 stone 10. You know what it normally been.
While I was working the metal.